All right. So first off, let me start by saying that these live streams that we can do every now and then, I love them, and I know we've been doing some on our Facebook page without the video. So if you haven't been watching those and you're not already on our page as a fan, make sure you go over there. It's just facebook.com/Athlean-X. And secondly, with these things here, I tried to position myself a little bit more in a setup here where I might be able to demonstrate some things if I have to behind me, so that you can see physically an exercise or something like that. I don't know if this can be ideal, but I do have the ability to maybe stand up and show something. So if that's the type of question that you want to see, we might be able to do some of those too. And then lastly, guys, I want to answer every single one of your questions, but they come in so fast that I can hardly get to them all. So I'm just going to try to scan through, see ones that I think might be helpful, things that I maybe haven't answered in the last live Q&A that we did, and then go from there. So right off the bat, I see one right here. What do you think of diet soda? I don't think that diet soda is unhealthy for you. As some people would say, especially because of the artificial sweeteners that are put in the diet soda. Again, research is showing that the amounts of the artificial flavors like Splenda that you'd have to get in a day would be equal to around 462 to 560 packages or so it was, of Splenda every single day, or grams. But that's every packet's 1 gram, so you're looking at that many number of packets. It's just ridiculous. You're not gonna I don't believe you're gonna consume enough of that stuff to cause problems in your health. But again, if you're drinking diet soda and then eating like crap, you're not gonna get cut. You're not gonna get lean. It's just a Band-Aid. You might as well be drinking the soda. Okay, so you gotta either be all in or all out. But diet soda alone is not gonna help. Let's see, what else? Let's see. I want to bulk but also be lean. What should I do? Well, that's something that we covered in the last video. I'm totally against the bulking cutting solution because it's not really a viable solution. If you want to be lean and you still want to be built, it's quite possible. You just have to sort of balance out the two big factors that play into that. One is your training, and the second thing is your nutrition. Now, if you want to get bigger, you need to eat bigger, but it doesn't mean you need to eat bad. You want to focus on good quality sources of protein, good quality sources of carbohydrates, starchy and fibrous carbohydrates. So your breads and rices and oatmeals and things like that, plus your vegetables and fruits. Bring them all in larger quantities, more often throughout the day. Keep your metabolism fueled up, just so you can support your muscle growth. And at the same time, you got to bring the workout intensity to the gym. Okay, you can't think that you're going to get bigger if you're not giving your body a reason to get bigger. Just like everything else, the reason the body adapts to a response based on the stress that's placed on it. So these calluses on my hands right here, they're produced from grabbing these iron bars that we lift with all the time and irritating the skin in that area to the point where the body says, look, if you're going to keep doing that, I'm going to lay something extra down to protect myself from that. Thus the calluses. The same thing happens with muscle. Unless you give it that irritating response in the beginning through the workout, that aggravation, the muscle won't respond with bigger size or growth to be better prepared for the next time. So you need to have both components in play. And when you do, that's what the whole Athlean-X system is about, is providing you with a way to get bigger and more athletic but still stay lean and ripped. Let me scan through the questions here. Let's see. What do you think of Kre-alkylin? It's supposed to not cause bloating like creatine monohydrate. You're exactly right. We love Kre-alkylin here. I love it so much that I put it in the Athlean-RX 2, which is our post-workout supplement, because there's a couple of advantages. Number one, it doesn't cause the bloating, and it's mostly because it doesn't create the creatine byproduct that creatine monohydrate does. So you don't get that water retention outside the muscle. You get the water absorption inside the muscle. So you eliminate that. And because of that, you also don't need as much of it. So your daily dose of Kre-alkylin could be down in the 2-gram range versus the 5 grams of maintenance dosage that they want for that they suggest for creatine monohydrate. And because of all that, there's no cycling needed between Kre-alkylin versus creatine monohydrate, because you're basically, again, avoiding any of the byproducts of supplementation of creatine that some people might want to avoid. So you're able to take it consistently. So for all those reasons, you don't have to cycle on and off. Less dosage and less bloating. Kre-alkylin is definitely what I favor, and so much so, like I said, I put it in the Athlean RX2 supplement again after your workout. Let's see. Matthias says, I enlisted in the Army in Denmark, and I got a workout from my trainer in the gym, which is basically based on 10 reps of, I lost your question. Where'd it go, Matthias? It updated with, where the heck did it go? Oh, here it is. 10 reps of 10 with the same amount of weight throughout the exercise. I guess he's basically asking me what I think about that. 10 sets of 10. I think that could be an intense workout technique. I actually, when I was growing up, I did a workout that I still remember to this day. It was 10 sets of 10 barbell squats, right? And this is probably what contributed to the bad knees that I have this day. But you had a minute to rest in between sets, and I mean, by the time the clock struck 60 seconds, you had to be already starting the descent on your first your first set of the first rep of that next set. And I used around 225 pounds to do that, and my God, I couldn't move for days after that. Again, but what you have to analyze, what is it about that that's working? In Athlean-X 2, we have a density training phase, okay, where I basically said the analogy of, you want to take what normally you would do in 30 minutes, and you want to do it in 15, okay, in half the time. What the 10 sets of 10 is doing for me, especially because I don't think it works unless you're keeping to the strict rest time. Again, that very strict, you better be starting that next set. What makes that work is the density of it, that you're doing a set, and even if you're not fully recovered, you still fully haven't caught your breath, you're doing your next set and your next set and your next set, and it becomes so difficult to squeak out those last 10 reps. The first 2 or 3 sets don't feel like anything, but by the time you're getting into that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th set, it's almost agony. But I think the secret behind that is density training, and it's one of the principles that we work into all the Athlean-X training programs, just to try to keep your workouts intense by keeping them short. So I like that, but I don't know what the rest time is that he's doing that. Let's see. How do you get rid of the little fat around the nipple area of a well-built chest? I've seen that before. Sometimes it's a little bit genetic. It's a tendency for some guys to have a little extra breast tissue there. I know it doesn't really look pretty. The best thing I think you can probably do is try to develop your entire chest so that you can round everything out. You know, and for me, dips usually work well for targeting a little bit lower down on the chest, especially when we say chin to chest dips. So you're keeping your chin dug into your chest for that little extra on the bottom. And then obviously incline bench pressing and stuff like that for your upper chest to try to develop it, round it all out. Because what I normally see is guys that have flabby lower chest or undeveloped lower chest, that nipple becomes more noticeable, right? If you have a more well-rounded, fully developed chest, you might not notice it as much, okay? But there's no real, if it's something that's coming, again, either hormonally or genetically, there's not much you can do to change that other than to try to develop the chest around it and reposition, all right? Let's see. Jeff, what do you think about deadlifts? I love deadlifts if you do them right, okay? Because the problem with deadlifts, and actually I can show something, so this will be our first time I can actually jump up and show an example here. Let me use just a kettlebell here for demonstration purposes, okay? So on the deadlift, we did the video the other day where I talked about you have to preset your back before you do any type of lifting, so you can make sure your back is secure, but also so you can transfer your power more. But here's the one major key when you're doing deadlifts. It's not a pulling exercise as much as it is a pushing exercise, okay? So the first thing we do is when we get over here, again, I could use a barbell or I could use just this kettlebell to show, but with deadlift you want to narrow up your stance, which you're not going to really be able to see there on the video, but I got my feet about shoulder width apart, inside of shoulder width apart. I just preset the back, okay? From here, when I'm all the way down to the ground, I'm leaning forward. This is where I'd be grabbing the bar if I didn't have the kettlebells. The very first part that you want to focus on is not pulling from here. It's a push through the glutes and through the legs. It's a pushing exercise. Okay, so I'm pushing through my legs here. Again, hard to see, better to feel. So if you can stand up and do it, do it. But pushing through, and when I get up past the knees, then it becomes a pulling exercise as I pull my hips through, okay, and my shoulders back. All right? So it's here, pushing exercise, pull it all the way through and up. If you do that and you can handle more weight, then it becomes a great mass building exercise and strength building exercise, because you're using basically every muscle group from your toes all the way up through your shoulders. But you got to make sure you're doing it right. Let's see. Next, can I use a school bag instead of a pair of dumbbells for shrugs? Yeah, why not? You know, I'm all about being resourceful. You know that. If you've seen any of the videos we put up here, we've used Tupperware container tops, you know, to do slick floor type, or you know, bridge and curls and stuff like that. We've used dog leashes here as a dip belt, right? So go for it, man. School bag for dumbbell shrugs. Absolutely, load it up with books. Do your shrugs. You know, put some dumbbells in there. I mean, dumbbell. You don't have dumbbells, but put some extra weight in there. Sand, whatever you want to do. Create like a sandbag out of it and go to town. Jeff, how do I get bigger triceps for hard gainers? Bigger triceps are not really, you know, it's not an isolated muscle group that is going to provide a problem for a hard gainer. Like, you're not going to find many guys that can't build bigger triceps that already have a bigger upper body, because they're so instrumental in every pushing exercise you do. So when you're doing your chest work, when you're doing your shoulder work, your triceps are going to certainly be involved, okay? But if you want to, again, if you want to get bigger triceps, you're going to want to devote your workout towards your triceps. So just doing all compound work, which I've seen people say here a lot, that's not going to cut it. It's not, I mean, sometimes you have to do a little bit more direct work if you want to try to get a specific body part or a more muscle group to respond. I mean, that really forms the foundation of our TNT series, you know, which we have some specific targeted workouts that go towards a specific muscle group that might be lagging or slow to grow. You target it, you work on that, you include that with your regular program, and you're able to provide that overload that you might not be getting based on your other compound lifts or the other parts of your lifting program, your other pushing workouts. So if it's a weak muscle, it specifically, you know, needs a little bit more extra work, because it might be causing you to compensate with the stronger parts of that motion. So chest and shoulders will dominate, triceps will stay in the back because they're not strong enough to really contribute to those pushing exercises and still continue to get overlooked. So the two stronger exercises will dominate, muscle groups will dominate, and the third one won't. So even more reason. So a little bit extra work, keep the reps in the 10 rep range or so at most, keep the intensity high, keep the workout short, no overtraining, okay? Jeff, what are the differences between good quality whey protein and low quality whey protein? A lot of muscle growth. I can tell you a little story here. When I was recovering from actually the last time we did this was when I had my appendectomy, which was at the end of June into early July. And I had lost about 12 to 14 pounds during that whole period. Not being able to eat, just no time in the gym. a little longer recovery time than I thought because I had some complications. So all that contributed to me losing a lot of weight. I used, again, this is no blatant plug for my supplements. What it does do is it shows you that I was extremely careful when I put together my supplements to make sure that I chose the highest quality protein for exactly the reason why you're asking this question. Because high quality protein is much more usable by your body and able to be put to work. It's the same thing as when we talk about food calories in general. You have your constructive calories and then you just have your calories. Constructive calories, you can have 100 calories of sugar and 100 calories of protein. The 100 calories of protein are going to be much more effective in helping you to build muscle, even if it's not directly from the protein itself, but just the usable calories that your body can use to fuel its metabolism, versus 100 calories of sugar, which don't really contribute much in terms of a usability factor. So in terms of protein, they have different gradients of the quality of protein. 80% pure, 90% pure, 95% pure. They have whey isolate proteins, they have whey hydroxylate proteins, they have whey concentrate proteins. The more concentrate's a little bit less on the scale of purity than an isolate. So the more pure the protein becomes, the more bioeffective it is. So the more it can impact your ability to build muscle. So it may cost a bit more money the higher up on that chain that you go, more towards more isolate protein. But I could tell you right now, it's worth every penny. Okay, because I was able to gain back all of that weight in a very short period of time over the course of two or 3 weeks. I think, again, from providing my body first and foremost with the highest quality of protein, not just through my supplements, but through eating the right types of protein in my meals, and then supplementing that again with the right types of protein through supplementation. And my body was able to use that and help me build back up quicker, build muscle tissue that I had lost, and build it back up quicker. Let's see. What do you think about yoga? I'm just gonna have an answer to that one. Actually, I think I did mention something about this in the last one we did. I think yoga is great, and we all know how important flexibility is to your training, because just like I just showed you back there on that deadlift, if you can't get into the proper position for a deadlift, don't do deadlifts, because you want to start loading up the weight like that, and you can't get the right position of your low back because your hamstrings are too tight, and then you try to go lift a whole bunch of weight, until you're going to blow out your discs in your back a lot faster, and need a physical therapist in order to help you to not just work out, but to stand up again. So you have to be able to make sure that your flexibility is being addressed. And I think the one thing that's nice for guys that like to train with weights is that yoga provides a cool way to do that. Because yoga in and of itself, by having certain poses, are mini challenges, right? You guys that are doing the Athlean-X program, you know that we have challenges all the time. Challenges every week, Athlean-X challenges, that we say, hey, you got to score this level or in order to proceed, or you got to stick back with this week and repeat it. Yoga provides that, I think, in mini doses. Can you master this pose? Can you master this pose? And if you can you master the pose up here, the next one in difficulty? And each one of them requires a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more strength, some dynamic balance between the two. And I think it's unique, and it fits in well with guys that like to train with weights, especially guys that are athletes. So what better way to incorporate training for flexibility while still having that same competitive element to the workout that keeps you wanting to do more. So yoga, yes, I think it's great. I think an extra 2 or 3 times a week, if you're into it, could really benefit you. Oh, good question. Multi Mr. Parkour. What about the team program? The team program is almost ready. We've been working on that now for weeks since I was down in Atlanta, as you saw in the video, putting the finishing touches on it. I would say it'd probably be, I hate always giving a date because we can never stick to dates, but I would say it's probably going to be available sometime in the fall, for sure. Sometime in the fall. So hopefully sometime at the end of September or October. Yo Jeff, why am I stronger by using dumbbells than barbells? Well, most of the time it's usually the other way around because the barbell allows you to compensate with your stronger arm. So if you're doing a barbell curl, compensate with your stronger arm and then overcome any weaknesses you have and lift more weight. But when you have more strength with your dumbbells, it might be that you actually aren't really suffering so much from strength discrepancies as you are basically the ability to control the bar. Some guys I know aren't good with the long lever arm of the bar. You have the weights way out on the ends as opposed to the dumbbells where the weights are nice and tight and close to your body. So yours might be more of what we call a proprioceptive issue, where your joints aren't very good the longer the weight gets away from your body, controlling things like that. So what you could do is, you certainly shouldn't avoid your barbell work. I would still attack your weaknesses by including those activities. But the best way that you can do that is that work on your strength with your dumbbells. So if you're going to do, let's say, barbell curls, use as much weight as you can on the dumbbells, and then in a drop set or a burnout, pick up the barbell and do it then. So you have less weight to have to control, but you're still not avoiding the whole issue of the proprioception where you can't control those weights the further out they go, right? The longer that lever arm gets. So work on the heavier weights to make sure you're still tapping into your strength and your muscle growth, and then come back and work on the burnouts from the barbell stuff. Jeff, what do you think of isometric lifting? Again, well, isometrics are, remember guys, we always talk about concentric and eccentric lifting, right? So concentric lifting is when you go and lift the weight up against gravity or do the actual execution of the lifting part, right? The eccentric part is so important. We always talk about this, that slow lowering of the weight. Isometric is just tension generated with no movement. So it's not eccentrically controlling the weight or concentrically going against gravity, but it's isometrically being able to just execute force with no movement of the joint. So think about athletically, at what point will you not have a movement of a joint athletically? Sometimes you want to be stable. Sometimes you want to be able to keep your core stable and tight while other things move around it. But I think the types of isometric exercises you do would want to focus in on that. Things where you want to keep something stable. Like again, I think core stability is going to be key. But times when you want to have your limbs stable or when you want to have your legs stable, it's going to be very few and far between. So you want to be sporadic when you do your isometric lifting. Don't do too much of it. If you're an Olympic ring guy and you got to be able to hold out here, that's a good example of an isometric exercise that you want to practice and work on. But unless you're doing something like that, stick more to your concentric power exercises and your eccentric control of those. Let's see. Let's look at what are your tips for college bodybuilders? Guys, I was not a bodybuilder in college, but I was a guy that liked to work out in college. I found that in college it was easier for me than ever to be able to get into a routine, because the first thing I would do is, again, it's all about routine. In college, you usually have a nice structure. You got a structure of classes throughout the day, each semester, where you have to be at a certain time of the day. So each semester for me, I used to have a whole new time that I would go to the gym because it was based upon what my schedule of classes were. I found that to be almost super effective because it kind of got me out of the routine. If I used to go at 4 o'clock during the fall semester, in the spring semester, I might not have been able to go because of classes, so I'd go at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a completely new experience. I felt like it was refreshing, and I got consistent results. I probably got more results through college than ever because when I went into college, I certainly didn't have any muscle. I think I got into my routine and my groove, and I was able to do that. Now, we can talk about a whole nother time nutrition in college, and that's a whole nother challenge. But from the mere routine of it, college should provide you with a good chance to schedule in, just like a class, when you're going to go to the gym, and that should help you out. Uh, let's see. Jeff, how does being sick affect your body, especially your muscle? I think just because I touched on it before, it's actually the good way we can talk about this is what should you do depending upon how you feel in the gym. Should you skip your workout? Should you not? I generally say if you're feeling symptoms from just the head up, so sore throat, stuffy nose, headache, things like that, working out usually is a good thing to do. Because it generally makes you feel better, especially if you have a stuffy nose. The extra blood flow can actually help to decongest you. If I've found many times if I've had a headache, it could be a little bit of a glycogen depleted headache, right? So as I started to work out, or glucose depleted headache, I can start to work out. I can start to break it down and feel better. My headache will go away by the time I'm done. Those are the type of symptoms you want to work out with. Anything down below chest, stomach, things like that, you don't want to try to work out. But what sickness will do to you though is definitely dehydrate you. Usually, most often, we don't tend to eat or drink enough when we're sick. So the dehydration will play a major part in making you look a lot flatter. If you're not eating, you have again some of that water loss because you don't have the carbohydrates to hold on to the water. So generally you can bounce back quickly from a workout or from a sickness, but you don't want to overdo it because your body is trying to tell you not to eat as much when you're sick because it doesn't really feel like it needs it at the time. So you want to make sure that when you do come back from a layoff that you do so at a rate that only your body can handle. Let's see. What's the best exercises to hit the lower chest? Well, all right. First and foremost, guys, I know there'll be some guys out there that say you can't target lower chest and upper chest, and because the chest is a muscle that contracts all at once, and that's how muscle contraction happens. It happens in all or none fashion. But there are different areas of the chest. The upper chest has fibers that connect up here to the clavicle. Okay. Then we have the sternoclavicular portion. The sternoclavicular up here. We have other portions of the chest fibers that run down this direction. Because of the influence of the direction of the fibers, you can actually target them a little bit more easily by putting them in a more favorable line of pull. Does that make sense? So if the pull of the fibers is more in its favor, it can execute the contraction a little bit more from those muscle fiber, those motor units there. So if you're looking at lower chest, the best exercise you can do is the dip, because it allows your body to. I'm going to show you another one. The dip allows you to target that. But there's a cool little exercise that I do you guys might like. It's so small and subtle, but I want to show it to you anyway. You grab a dumbbell right here, okay? And we know that the arm, part of the job of the chest is to adduct the arm, okay? So abduct would be, AB would be to move it away from your body. Adduct would be to move it across your body. So horizontal adduction is in this way, right, across your body. So what I do is I take it from down low, again, putting the fibers down low at a more advantageous angle here, and I just bring it up and across, just like this, up and across. My arm is almost like a little bit of a shrug, but it's crossing the body. So you can see, if you look here, up right on the lower part of the chest, as I come across, up and across, right here, you can see the muscle being targeted from down low and in the middle. Okay? Just up, squeeze, and hold it. Okay? When I want to target a little bit lower, that's what I do. Let's see. What else? Let me scan through here. Jeff, what is your favorite kettlebell exercise? My favorite kettlebell exercise is definitely the swing. I love the kettlebell swing. It's because it offers the triple extension that is so hard to reproduce, especially in an athletic way, and a lot of other exercises. right? So when I talk about triple extension, I'm talking about extension through my ankles, through my knees, through my hips. And you don't necessarily do a lot of that in an explosive way if you're doing lunging or if you're doing squats, or even if you're doing deadlifts like we talked about before. But with swings, you're doing it in an explosive manner. You're doing it in a way that you can take advantage of the kinetic chain, the way that it's set up from the ground all the way up through your hips, to not only naturally reproduce the motions that your body wants to do, but do it against resistance, so we're going to get stronger with it. And then that will have a higher functional carryover to a lot of the other things that we do out on the field in competition, or just making more explosive, more developed lower body. The ab wheel. What are my thoughts on the ab wheel? The ab wheel, I love the ab wheel. I've been doing the ab wheel forever. And you probably saw a while back, if you haven't, the Fast 5 ab workout. Just go search that on YouTube. I love the ab wheel. I don't know what to tell you. It's like the cheapest thing, 10 or 12 bucks. I bought one when I was up at college, so I made sure I had one. And when I used to go to spring training, I used to bring one too because it was so easily portable. And what I like about it is, again, it's basically advanced plank modifications, right? You're either planking on your knees and then rolling out, and you're trying to control that plank, so you have elements of stability. But then you have to overcome the force in the long lever arm when you're way out to come back. So it's a concentric type exercise too. Getting, again, flexion through the spine, which is important for an ab exercise. So I love the ab wheel. You can go in different directions to work more of the obliques, but it's a great thing. And if you haven't seen it, make sure you check out the Fast 5 workout. Let's see, what else? Jeff, what do you think of the NASM personal trainer course? Be quite honest, I don't know much about every single personal trainer course that I see. There's a few. I don't want to name specific names, but one of them, we were going to film a video on this, but we never wound up doing it. My dog Charlie actually got a certification in it, so we might break it out one day. Charlie might come out. My black lab might come out and start doing some videos for you guys, because he seriously did earn a credential in this organization's, as a certified personal trainer. He did it. I'm proud of him. He's a smart boy. But that kind of shows you what I think about a lot of the weekend certification courses, or the ones that you can sort of just apply for online and get one. I certainly wouldn't want my family members or friends being treated by or trained by somebody that had just that, and that's all that they're bringing to the table. But I do know that there are some good organizations out there, and I obviously would speak highly of the one that I'm part of, which is the National Strength and Conditioning Association. They require a college diploma. They require a lot of things that put them at a whole nother level, and it's a much more rigorous course than it is, than some of these other fly-by-nights. So, I have a lot of respect for everyone that wants to get into the business. Just make sure that your heart's in it, and that you're pursuing the education, the degrees that are going to put you in the best position to help people. Okay, and give them the right information, and not just become a trainer and be able to call yourself that. Let's see, Jeff, how do I increase my pull-up number? That's a good question. Best way to increase your pull-ups is to do as many as you can, and then have some way to deload. Okay, so we talked about it a while ago. Again, another one of these videos I did where I showed you a bench press technique where you lift more than you can and then back off and do more of your reps. So you want to touch those higher weights. You want to touch those higher resistances so your body can feel them and know what it's going to be like. Get it to over-adapt, to almost be overstimulated, to say, wow, holy crap, that's hard to do. And then back it up to a weight that you can start to push out. And you'll see that as you continue to touch higher and higher weights, just even for a rep or two before you drop right down, you're able to start lifting more and more and more. So on pull-ups, some guys can only do 1 or 2 full reps. Do those, come right back into a way you can deload, which would either be a jumping pull-up, so you get up there and then eccentrically allow yourself to drop down, so you work on eccentrics only, or use one of the resistance bands where you can do an assisted pull-up. So again, if you're using the Athlean-XX bands, the red band would be, you'd wrap it around the pull-up bar, put your foot in it, go up, and it's going to basically unweight you by around 60 or 80 pounds and allow you to do sort of a drop set with assistance. If you're at the gym, you could use one of the assisted pull-up machines, but always start with even if it's one, the number of pull-ups that you can do and be able to do that. Let's see. Difference between Athlean-X 1 and the women's program. The women's program kicked my ass. That's the difference between the programs. No, let me tell you this. The difference between AX1 and the women's program. For women, I believe there's a specific way to train. First of all, having trained some women who I think we had a large sample of women who gave us great feedback. Women generally don't like to sit around during a workout. They don't want to do a set, wait a minute, do a set, wait a minute, do a set, wait 2 minutes. They really want to be kept in motion. And the interesting thing about that is that's what plays best into a woman's physiology. It's what plays best into getting their heart rates up where they have to be, maintaining them, so we're getting our cardio benefits, but at the same time challenging them with heavier weights. So what we did was we focused a lot on circuit training in the women's program and using heavy weights though. So it's not all about, this is not a cardio routine, ladies. This is circuit training with weight training in it, all at the same time. Again, with just like all Athlean-X workouts, brief and intense. So the intensity is going to be high, but it's designed to specifically work for a woman's body type. We found that not only do they like that type of training, but they respond best to that training. Whereas Athlean-X 1 has more of the traditional, what we see for guys, approach to lifting. Certain days dedicated to certain muscle groups, certain days dedicated to certain muscle group actions, and then a little bit more of that rest periods that we would see with 45 to 60 seconds between sets, sometimes 90 seconds, depending upon the phase that we're in. So you could certainly do it. And I mean, both programs, the exercises are always changing, a lot of variety, hitting you from all different angles, always keeping you athletic, always explosive, but a little bit different frequency and a little bit different scheduling in terms of how we lay the programs out. But we've had women follow both programs and get amazing results. And we've even had some guys admit to using the women's workout and saying that it kicked their butt. I'm not the only one that would say that. So just try the 400 the XXX challenge video that's on YouTube here and tell me if it doesn't kill you. Let's see. Jeff, what is your post-workout meal? My post-workout meal. It varies. It varies. I think the most important thing for me is, again, I always say that post-workout time is the most ideal time to fit exactly what your body needs into that window, right? And that window being somewhere around 45 minutes. Again, I always say, don't look at your clock and think that as soon as you hit 46 minutes, you're out of your opportunity. But the most important thing is what you put in your body then. For me, I use, again, Athlean-RX2. We talked about it before. It has Kre-alkylin in it. It's got everything I need in it. It's got my carbohydrates. It's got, in the form of waxy maize, so it's a little faster digesting and absorbing. We've got branched chain amino acids. Extremely important post-workout. Extremely important post-workout, branched chain amino acids. Again, Kre-alkylin, all that stuff in it at the right time. And it's very low calorie and easy to digest. It's not a real thick type shake because I don't like that consistency. So if I had to, which is, I think this will help you, sometimes I'll come home 6:30 or so at night, I'll work out, and I don't want to be eating dinner 2.5 hours later. So I'll eat dinner like an hour and a half after or an hour after I've had my post-workout shake. But I make sure that I get the post-workout in. Then I have my dinner about an hour later, but because the post-workout is not really filling, and it doesn't just sit in your stomach because it's full of all fillers and basically chalk. We'll talk about that another time. They literally put chalk in a lot of your supplements. Like eraser chalk is in a lot of supplements. Because it doesn't sit in your stomach like that, it goes through quickly. You still have an appetite. You can still eat a regular meal. And that's how I get it in. But when I'm that tight, ideally, if I have the time to wait, I would have my post-workout shake, and then I'd have my meal about 2.5 hours later. Let's see what else. I got some of your questions here. How do I loosen my hips? Well, there's a lot of different hip problems you could be having. So it's not so easy to just say loosen my hips in general. But one of the things that I think guys should start doing before you work out are, again, dynamic stretches. We don't like to do static stretches before a workout. So dynamic stretches. And one thing we used to do in spring training every single day before a workout is just our leg swings. Okay, so when we do our leg swings, you're trying to work on, again, adduction of the hip and abduction of the hip. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get myself a little bit more out here so you can see it. But as I kick my leg out, I rotate my foot up to the ceiling here. Okay, up and then across my body. And as I go across, I point my foot across my body that way. Okay, so up and across, up and out. Okay, like that. And we also can do our front to back leg swings up and through here. Again, don't lean forward. Don't lean forward when you do these because you're not really getting extension through the hip. You want to just get up and back, up and back. Okay? There's a lot of stretches you can do on the ground as well. One of my favorite stretches, laying on my back, cross my leg over the top here, ankle over knee. Again, pull back behind the leg here towards my, let's see if I can show it to you real quick. So, down here, cross your leg over. I'm waiting for my feet to catch up with me. Cross your leg over the top, lay back, pull in through here. Okay, pull back on the leg over here. So what this is going to do is get the internal rotators to stretch out by externally rotating the right hip. If you find that when you look at it from the side that this knee is way up here because you can't get any kind of external rotation at all in your hip, then start by anchoring your foot on something, this foot, the left leg, and pushing down here. Okay? That will be your stretch. As soon as you can get it to the point where you're parallel across here, then work on pulling the other leg back so that you can increase the stretch on the hip on the right hand side. Go back up. All right, guys, got time for a couple more questions. Jeff, how do you reduce muscle soreness? That's a good question. One of the things I just showed you right there is to do some stretching and make sure that you're stretching at the end of the night, okay? So the best time to do your static stretching is at night from the muscle groups that you worked that day. So if you worked your chest, stretch it before you go to bed that night. If you worked your legs, stretch them before you go to bed that night. That's one thing. The next thing, believe it or not, is sleep and proper nutrition. Your body can only handle so much, and it's one of the main principles I talk about with Athlean-X all the time. Rest and recovery. Okay, muscle recovery is what we're talking about when we talk about recovery. Rest is sort of total body rest. If you don't build that in, and if you don't support that with nutrition at the right times when you're resting, you won't grow. You'll constantly be sore. You won't see your body changing. You won't see yourself losing fat, and that's a major problem. So the attack plan, make sure part of recovery, stretching, and making sure that you're like we instruct to make sure you're stretching at night. Have the proper nutrition before you go to bed. Give your body some protein before you go to sleep. Fast acting and slow acting protein. So again, I keep coming back to this, guys. There's a reason why I keep coming back to it because I believe in them highly. The RX3 supplement reconstruction has fast-acting whey protein, so when you first go to bed, you can kind of trigger that anabolic response. Because remember, you do all of your growing when you're resting, when your body is having a chance to recuperate. Not when you're in the gym. That's where you stimulate growth, but you actually do the growing when you're resting. So you make sure you have a fast-acting whey protein to kick it off, and then about 4 times the amount of a casein protein, slower acting, to take you through the night to be there to support muscle growth at night as well. So that's what we do. We put in about a 4-to-1 ratio. Have that, get a good night's sleep. Make sure you get around 7 or 8 hours of sleep. Get up the next day. You'll feel better. You'll be able to attack your workout again with intensity, and that's the whole key. Keep getting your workouts, the intensity high, and making sure that you're resting and recovering. Let's see, 3 more questions. Is Athlean-X suitable for ectomorphs? Absolutely. Again, we talk about building muscle and having the right intensity in place. To kind of building off that last question. If you have the intensity in place, you can produce amazing results as ectomorphs. I mean, I'm an ectomorph. I've always been an ectomorph, but I've been able to add lean muscle because I've been able to increase the intensity of my workouts, but also at the same time decrease the length of my workouts. I was not unlike a lot of you guys out there where in high school I was at the gym at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'd be done at 6:30. And I was pounding away set after set after set, and I did not see nearly the results I have the more I started to cut it down. And I've credited this guy a long time ago with sort of triggering my mindset about it, and it's what got me to really researching the concept and seeing how much it makes sense, was a guy like Mike Mentzer, who, yes, he even admitted he was using steroids, and he wasn't a natural bodybuilder by any means, but he understood recovery. And he said, he had the whole 1 set to failure and you're done. But the more I started to see why it was so important, especially as he would say for guys that were drug-free, it made just a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense in terms of recovery. And the whole point now is that if you guys can attack these Athlean-X workouts, they're set up perfectly for you you got to be intense. If you don't bring your intensity to them, forget it. But if you can attack these workouts, I'll get you out of the gym in 30 to 40 minutes tops. But I guarantee if you attack the workouts, you're going to be able to add muscle. So whether you're an ectomorph like myself, or whether you're a mesomorph, or a guy that just needs to lose some extra weight, you're going to get results from your training as long as you're providing the right type of right type of intensity with the right type of workouts to keep you in that zone strategically, not just throwing exercise out at you, but with a plan. And then you recover, you're gonna see results. And I think we have a lot of guys, as you'll see on our testimonial board, that looked probably like you do, that needed to get results as skinnier guys that certainly did. Let's see, last one. Let me see, look back, see if I missed anything. I know I missed a lot of your questions, guys. It's tough to get to all of them. It really is. So I'm just trying to, we'll hold more of these so I can do that. And I might even be able to answer a few more of your questions after the fact. Let's see. Recovering from a torn muscle. It's a good question. I guess what you're asking is, when should you start working out again? What's the best practice, to come back from that? You don't want to jump back into training when you have a torn muscle. What you want to do, that for me, I think the biggest thing you want is a progression. So you got to make sure that you're allowing your body to do things that involve that muscle, but not directly hitting that muscle. So let's just say you had let's see, a torn bicep. Okay, I don't know what muscle you tore, whoever wrote the question, but we know that the direct actions of the bicep are to flex the arm. We know it will supinate the forearm, and we know that it will elevate the shoulder. Now, in its order of priority, the thing that the bicep does the most is probably flex the elbow. We know that, right? The thing it does the second most is probably supinate the wrist, right? It's probably a tie between supinating here and also elevation of the shoulder. So what I would do is, as you're starting to make your way back into actually exercising, because obviously you need to get through the whole recovery phase first, controlling the inflammation, getting back your range of motion, all that must come first. But I assume what you're talking about is getting back into the strength training aspect. You want to choose the secondary motions first, so that you're involving the bicep, because we know that it controls those motions, but it's not directly stimulating the muscle to the point where you're doing it too much, right? So you'd stay away from flexion of the bicep right off the bat and work more on the supinating factor of it. Maybe just taking a band, walking backwards until you have adequate tension on the band, flexing just enough to get the bicep activated through there, and then work on the back supination and stuff of the forward and backward pronation of the forearm. Or you could work on just some front raises, some band front raises. So underneath your hands, all right, underneath your feet, lift your hands up and work on front raises. Again, targeting some bicep work, but indirectly. All right. So think of ways that you can indirectly hit the muscle that you injured without directly going at it, and you'll know when you do too much because you'll start to feel that, and you might even get some swelling the next day. All right, guys. So I think that's it. Let's see. Do we have one extra one? Oh, here's a good one. Hey Jeff, I was wondering how much body fat you have. The Hodge Twins said they had about 5% body fat. Right in that same ballpark. Probably just a little bit under. You know, right around 4% is really where I sit. Again, mostly it's going to come, guys, from proper nutrition. You know, making sure. And again, for me, it's super simple. If you have a meal plan that you follow that allows you to like a lot of the things that you're eating, it's going to be real simple to follow. And that's when I put the X Factor meal plan together in Athlean-X, as anybody that's followed the program can say, it is super, super simple. All right, it's super simple. You can follow this plan because there's so many options, and there's so many good tasting options that are realistic, that guys can actually afford and make. That if you can't find things that you like, then if you can't find them on this plan, then there's nothing that you like. And what you could do is you don't have to follow it directly meal by meal by meal by meal. You find the things that you like and you can repeat them, because most guys wind up eating the same 4 or 5 things that they like all the time. But if they're good for you and you actually look forward to eating them, you're going to wind up doing a great great things for your body, and mostly your body fat. And by the way, yes, I do like the Hodge Twins. I think they're extremely entertaining, amusing guys, and my hat's off to them. They create videos, man, every single day, and I admire their work ethic and their ability to keep coming up with funny stuff and good stuff and entertaining stuff. And if you guys are liking them, then we like them too. So, all right, guys. If you haven't already, guys, we've talked about it a few times here, but I know if you're watching this, become part of Team Athlean. Come over to ATHLEAN-X.com, grab the Athlean-X training system. It really is, I think, the best out there right now. The best thing that you can do to get in the shape of your life by training athletically and explosively. You know, there's a lot of programs that will claim that, but they don't really have the science behind it. As a physical therapist, I like to try to put real science into what we do. Don't overdo anything we do. Get you the most effect from what you're doing, and then get you out of the gym. I realize you got other things you want to do in your life. You know, you want to look good, you want to play hard, you want to do all those things. My job is to get you what you need to get in here in the gym as fast as possible, and then get you out. So, guys, thanks again. We'll do another one of these real soon. If you haven't already, thumb this video up if you like these, so I know that we'll do more. And leave your comments. I'll try to answer a few of these questions down below. If I see a lot of common questions, I'll answer a few more after the video is over. All right, guys, thank you again, and I'll see you over at ATHLEAN-X.com. See ya.